here's a squeegee, here's a knife, here's a blade that we would keep in the corner of our mouth. Nobody had OFA blades or anything.
Really?
Yeah, so we would just use regular straight razors. And it was that. It was don't cut yourself and here's how you squeegee.
What year is this?
This was 1991. I still look at that training and still wish that people would have to go through something like that because it built really good fundamentals on how to be an installer.
Are you wrapping cars more than 12 hours a day, every day? Working nonstop but can barely get by? Burnout, missing deadlines, and wondering just how much longer you can keep this up?
That was us too. We started our wrap shop buried under $250,000 in debt, and it felt absolutely impossible. But we dug out, built a profitable shop, and are still in the trenches of owning and operating a wrap shop. We're here to share what we learned along the way so that you don't make the same mistakes that we did.
And we're here to help you with the business side of the wraps, like pricing, building a team, streamlining your systems, ultimately so that you can run your shop and your shop stops running you.
Welcome to the Wrap Ops Podcast, brought to you by Wrap Fam Unleashed. We just sat down with Carlos Alverio with JW Graphic Installation and got some killer insights from just someone in the industry who has been around for a long time and has so much wisdom and knowledge that all of us wrap shop owners and installers and travel installers, we could all learn from this conversation. He does a deep dive into his experience with Metro Wraps and into his new venture, and especially on the culture at a shop, the hiring, how to progress your team, and just, leaving without burning a bridge, and all of these insane nuggets of wisdom that I know that you could benefit from. So stay tuned for this amazing interview with Carlos Alverio. Carlos, welcome to the Wrap Ops Podcast. I'm so glad to have you.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. So we're going to dive right in. So can you start with, how did you get started in the wrap industry? What did that look like?
So I started off, I was born and raised in Chicago.
Okay.
And my brother worked at a sign company. And he gave us opportunities. We're a big family. There's 7 of us.
Oh, wow.
And he gave us an opportunity for summer work. Mm-hmm. We're just starting off in high school. If you guys want to come help with this, I can pay you guys $5 an hour.
Oh, wow.
Which was good money back then, but it was money for high school for us.
Yeah.
And that became a permanent job offered if we wanted it once we were out of high school. As it progressed and he needed more help on projects, it went from summers to during the year, weekends and stuff that he needed help with. And then that at that point became something else. It became, became permanent work.
Okay.
And
what was this work? What exactly were you doing?
So we were doing, everything we did was just based with signage, with vehicle lettering.
It did include vehicles though. It wasn't more of those hard signs or...
It was based more on signage and truck lettering.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Sure.
So the company that he worked at was partners with a trucking company that was literally next door to them. Mm-hmm. So they would letter all the trucks for them. And it wasn't fancy. It was, if you needed multiple colors, it was vinyl on top of vinyl.
Yeah. The die cut layering. Yes.
So we would layer that stuff. We would, we're going from painting, priming plywood boards to painting them to make, to all those surfaces. And the storefront that this sign company was in didn't have a lot of room. It was 2 small storefronts. So anything we had to letter on, 4x8s or anything, had to be screwed into the wall, and everything was put up that way. So I learned my initial part from him, which was just, here's a squeegee, here's a knife, here's a blade that we would keep in the corner of our mouth. Nobody had OFA blades or anything.
Really?
Yeah, so we would just use regular straight razors. And it was that. It was don't cut yourself and here's how you squeegee.
What year is this?
This was 1991.
Okay.
So we started from there.
That is crazy, the advancement to today.
Yeah. So, 36 years later, it's I still look at that training and still wish that people would have to go through something like that because it built really good fundamentals on how to be an installer. And it really helped out with problem solving. And you see the advancements. It's easier nowadays with the advancement in film technology. But, back then we struggled.
Yeah.
And, our mistakes were our teachable moments were our mistakes,
Yeah. Yeah. I saw a piece of advice recently that said, if you want to prove you're a good installer, use a really crummy film to wrap a hard car. And then the next car after that, you'll be like, oh, wow. Like my skills are so much better. So it kind of sounds similar to that, of just like doing that really hard thing to solidify that you have the skill and the technique down in what you're installing.
I think that's important for people, is to go with something that's extreme, that's to the extreme of what the possibility is for the film.
Yes.
To learn those techniques, and it makes everything else easier. So if you learn, I equate it to the WNBA, and say the reason why they make all these shots is they don't rely on the athletic ability of being able to jump and dunk and this and that. They work on their fundamentals. And that, I think, works into what it is that we do. Is if you have strong fundamentals, you're going to be a strong installer.
Yeah.
Right?
That's a great comparison. Installing
quickly isn't about how fast you move your squeegee. It's about how efficient you are with what you're installing.
Yeah.
And I try to hit that home with, when I was at Metro with the installers that we had there. And, now that I'm a 3M trainer, that I teach in my class, and I tell people, I can't teach you to be faster. I can teach you to be more efficient. And efficiency breeds speed.
It's a good sentence we need to say in our own shop. I like that a lot, because we are trying to teach faster, and maybe that it doesn't seem to be clicking. So maybe that's a better way to approach that issue.
People, they equate being faster with how fast you move your squeegee.
Yes.
And that's not there. And I constantly tell people, don't sacrifice good technique for speed.
Okay.
Your efficiency is what's going to make you faster.
Yeah. I love that.
So
you started in this shop, and then let's keep going on your timeline there.
Okay, so I moved to so there were 2 sign shops in Chicago. The owners were best friends. So another sign shop, they needed help. So I moved over to that one. And it was a small shop, 5 people.
Okay.
I ended up managing the place. But I learned to wrap vehicles there. My brother sent me a job that was to do a van wrap. I had never done a wrap before. I'd lettered vehicles, did sign work, installs, but I'd never wrapped a van.
Right.
So he sends me the rolls of print. He sends me a layout, and he gives me the instructions. You have 2 days, make it look like the picture. That's it.
Easy enough. Yeah.
And I use that to this day, is make it look like the picture. But I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know. I don't have pictures of it, so I think it came out good. I have no way of verifying if it did or if it didn't. I don't remember the customer ever coming back to say that this was, a bad install. But those vans were used for rappers, not the WRA, the RAP.
Yeah, the R.
So they would promote their albums and their CDs that way.
Okay.
So they'd buy a van, put their album cover on it, and then they would drive around Chicago, and they would, hand out CDs
marketing.
or, do that stuff. So that was the very first one that I did.
Okay.
I wish I had pictures of it, because I
How long did it take you?
2 days. It took me a full 2 days.
Yeah. So you're figuring it out.
It doesn't take me 2 days anymore.
Yeah,
but it took me every minute of those 2 days, it took me to get that figured out. So I had no training on any of that. A lot of the stuff we did really was learning trial and error.
I was about to say, and that's also, I think, in my opinion, a good way to learn is almost like throw you in it and sink or swim, figure it out and then kind of learn the technique.
I read somewhere, mistakes are your greatest teacher.
Yeah. Yeah. You have great expressions. We need to make a quote log for you. I love it. Very cool.
Thank you.
All right. Keep walking us through. So then you wrap this van and then what's next?
From there, I was doing a lot. At this point, I'm managing this company, and it's small. There's only 5 of us there. I meet the woman who eventually became my wife.
Nice.
We get married, and we decided that we wanted to relocate. So we look into, places that are, for her, she has rheumatoid arthritis, so the cold is no good for her. So Chicago no longer works for us. So she needs a warm environment, and they, the doctors had told us, well, Arizona's like your number one location of where you should be, right? So there's no humidity. It's dry heat. That would be perfect for you.
Okay.
Or Florida. Well, we don't know anybody in Arizona. At the time, we didn't know not a single person in Arizona, but I had family in Florida, and she had really good friends in Florida too.
Oh, okay.
So there was a no-brainer for us to go. And, we said if we left, so what's the worst that can happen? It doesn't work, and we come back, and we're good. But nothing holding us here. We didn't have we didn't have a family. We had just gotten married. So we left and we up and moved to Florida. I had gone that summer. We got married in 2000. So this was in the summer of 2001. Went there, dropped my resume at a bunch of places, including Metro Signs.
Yeah.
I didn't know, 'cause back then phones weren't a thing the way they are now.
Sure.
We had the Nextel flip phones. We were searching everything online and printing out MapQuest and just getting a
the
radius
MapQuest
and
days,
stuff.
yes.
And finding, okay, here's some sign shops that are close to where we were going to be staying. And just went and dropped resumes. I got a call from Fast Signs. They called me up. They offered me a job. So I said, okay, I have at least a security of a job here.
Yeah, because you need
that
something.
I can then
there.
build from there.
Right.
So we move. She was able to transfer. I had a job. We start right away. I'm doing stuff there. And about a year later, I get a call I get an email from Bruno at Metro. Hey, I'm not sure if you're still interested or if you're still looking, but I have an opportunity here if you're available.
Oh, nice. So he kept your resume.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I took a meeting with him. I think I met with him 3 times, before I moved over. And, from there, that was, that was the start of, I would say that was the basis. Like everything else would have been training camp up until there, because that really was the start of my career and what I was brought into. I was brought in there as a graphic designer, and moved positions based off of need of the company.
I didn't realize you had the graphic design background throughout this as well. Okay.
So,
very cool.
Yeah, that's the one thing I didn't say from the beginning. So I learned that from one of my other brothers who, we needed to learn how to cut vinyl. Mm-hmm. So we needed to learn how to
learn the program
the files
and all of that.
And how to do this stuff. So we, that we already knew. I knew a little bit more, but not formally trained on any of the Adobe, any of the programs.
Yeah.
And, but I had a pretty good knowledge of what to do with it.
Right.
So when I get to Metro, I come in as a graphic designer.
And install, and I think that makes a dangerous designer.
I know install, I know production, so I know what it takes to get things done.
Get the job completely done.
And I think that's where my value was, in the beginning was, okay, well, he knows what to do and he's got a good head on his shoulders for this. So a lot of the guys that were there were on that same level.
Okay.
Which made it easy.
Yeah.
Because you can kind of close your eyes, pick and choose who you need to help you, and they can help you.
Oh, that's nice.
So it was a really good, group of people that was there. And I'm like, this is pretty good. I've never had somebody who came in, Bruno would come in every morning and specifically walk around and greet everyone individually and shake their hands every morning.
Oh, wow.
And I never had that. Even, my old boss in Chicago, and I love that, him, but we were a smaller, so I guess it didn't feel the same. And when you come into a bigger company, it stands out.
Yeah.
So, and I saw that he was looking out for people and really, understanding and wanting to foster whatever it is that you had, going.
Yeah.
So from there, obviously with, trust and experience, all of that stuff begins to build up. You start to move up in where it is that that you need. And when the the employees, as that starts to change, as the number of people that you have there start to change and you get different people coming in, people start to move up based off of, just their longevity there and and the value that they're providing to the company. So I tried to make myself as valuable as possible there because I take pride in what it is that I do.
Yeah.
And I've tried to get any of the employees when I eventually became general manager, that was my message to them was take pride in what it is that you do, because to the customer on the outside, the company did the job.
Right.
But within the company, you did the job.
Yes.
And that's where you get judged. Mm-hmm. That's where your value holds in a company is what it is that you're doing. If your hands are on it, you want to make sure that it's that it's the best possible work that you can provide. And you should take it personal if it fails. Mm-hmm. I don't want anything to fail.
Right.
Whether my hands are on it or it's somebody else's.
Sure.
I take failure pretty hard.
Yeah.
For it. Because I pride myself on, doing a good job. I'd like to think that, with the experience that I've had and the effort that I put into a job, that when it's a finished product, the people are going to be satisfied with it and customers are going to be happy.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is the reputation that is there. So you achieved your goal on that.
So that's all I've tried.
Yeah. And so was that progression there from graphic designer straight to general manager, or did you have different job titles in the middle there?
So I was a graphic designer on three separate occasions. I went from graphic design into production based off of a needs basis. Mm-hmm. So because production knew that I had that skill set, I kept getting pulled. Mm-hmm. So, and my desk happened to be closest to the production room. Mm. So I was the obvious choice to get through. And I had no problem with that helping out. But it started to then affect what it is I was able to do in design.
Right.
So I had a conversation with Bruno and I think you should hire a designer and I can move over to here because I think that's where my value right now for the company, is.
And I love that you did that and not just, hey, tell them to stop pulling me off of this. Right. That's a really interesting, you went straight to this is the problem, here's how I can solve it versus, hey, you solve my problem.
It's always been anywhere that I can help.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So getting into then, vehicle wraps, we were doing stuff, but we didn't have the printing capacity to print it ourselves.
Okay.
Eventually we did. We kind of fast tracked it into that.
Sure. Those printers aren't cheap though. Those are all big investments to add on. So,
but we started gradually adding on and developing a bigger print department than what was there. And once we were able to do that, then we didn't have to outsource the prints.
Yeah.
We can do everything in-house. And once we were able to do everything in-house, we can take on more.
Yes.
And we had the employees who had the skill set to be able to do it. Mm-hmm. So it was, it ended up helping out.
Perfect.
But we were able to grow the business that way and being able to do more, once we were more self-sufficient, on that. And that was just a build. And that was a needs basis. It was, the industry was changing to this. Our customer needs are growing to this. So let's get the equipment that we need to be able to service them.
And you were critical in helping kind of guide this decision while you were in that production role.
So
am I understanding that right?
In the production, there was a lot of us that were there. There were about 4 or 5 of us that were there, that our skill set was pretty similar. So the voices were kind of
equal,
on an equal level of, hey, I think we should do this. And Bruno was really good at, bringing this to a group setting and, asking us, what can we do to improve what it is that we're, how it is that we're presenting ourselves and what it is that we're doing for our customers.
Yeah.
And would come to us and say, hey, listen, I'm thinking of getting another printer for this. What do you guys think? So he would ask for feedback.
Okay.
And we would bring these things in. And he always he's never afraid to spend the money to get the tools that are necessary for his employees to be successful.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing I love about it is that, he always had that portion to say that you can never come to work and say, I don't have what I need to get the job done. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't have what you need, it's there the next day or even the same day, whatever it is that you need to make it happen. We make sure that it's there. And eventually it went from him doing that to him and I doing that, for our employees to let them know, hey, listen, we want to invest in you guys and we want to make sure that you guys are going to be as successful as you possibly can.
Yeah.
So
what role are you at when you were working with him on making those types of decisions? So you went from production to...
So I went from production to vehicle installations and then just really kind of all around production and install.
Yeah. That makes sense. So you're doing all the
design
legs,
when needed.
Basically. Yep.
Yeah, it was design when needed, but it was mostly, vehicles and then installation, production if I had to. But I didn't have, an official title. I mean, that didn't come till later. I was just helping.
And that's kind of the point I was hoping to get at here is it seems like you took on the role of general manager before it was given to you. And correct. I feel sometimes in the hiring process and having employees, that is one of the harder things is they come to you and say, I want this promotion, but they aren't doing, they're not backing it first of, hey, I've been doing X, Y, and Z. So maybe that's the job I should have type thing. And you have way more experience than me. So please give advice and correct if I'm wrong, but just kind of that natural, how do you promote employees and how do you know when they're ready and when should an employee come to you or should you be going to them first or?
So I was raised in the era of good work gets rewarded. Mm-hmm. And that was my mentality. Yeah. And it's still my mentality to this day.
Sure.
Is good work stands out and gets rewarded as it should. And I think when you recognize those people and you want to invest in those people, you want to move them, you want to advance them,
right?
In their career because nobody wants to be stuck doing the same thing over and over. They want, the whole point of getting into an industry is to be able to be as successful as you possibly can,
right?
And I think for some of it can be on the employees to say, hey, I think I want to, if they have something that they want to do. then come to us and say, hey, listen, this is something I want to try. Give me an opportunity to do this. And that opportunity will be there even if we weren't thinking, if we weren't thinking about you for that role. Maybe it's something that somebody wants to do and you're making your voice heard. Other than that, if you're coming in and we're doing, we'll recognize good work and say, okay, guys, you're doing this. I think you can do, you can do more. You can tackle some of this responsibility and take on, a little bit more. But you have, there's a couple of things that go along with that, which some of it is, you have employees that are good at one avenue and they want to stay there.
Yeah.
There's some people that don't want the added responsibility. And then there's those that, that are 100%. That's all they want to do is they want that advancement, and it's not as easy to recognize in some people, because there are some people when you put them in that position, that they didn't know they can succeed at,
And did you ever have the opposite happen where maybe you did try to advance someone and it did not go and go to plan?
We've had that happen. And I think that's going to happen, that's everywhere.
It's unavoidable.
It's everywhere. Some people just aren't, sometimes they're just not made for that role, and sometimes it's just too much. Sometimes the responsibility is too much. And they have, I think everybody has their specialty, and it's just about finding where it is that they're most effective. Sure. And for some people it's hey, listen, I like to keep my head down and I can do this. And that's where you're going to see my value is I'm going to be able to produce. And for other people, it's, listen, I can go install. I'm good with customers and I can make this thing happen. I know how to problem solve. Yeah. And for other people, it's, hey, I think I could be a good leader of a team. Yeah. And I think people would follow the work ethic that I put forward. Sure. So it really is, a mixed bag for.
It's almost a dance. Yeah. With the employee, the employer.
But you have some employees, and I'm sure this has to happen everywhere. You have some employees that don't show their full potential. Right. Because they don't want to feel like they're being taken advantage of. So they're like, well, why would I give the extra if I'm not getting what I feel
I'm
like
doing my job
for?
description, basically.
And they're
so
doing
I
it down to the letter.
Extra. Okay, I want to dive into that a little bit right when we get back. So we're going to allow a moment for a quick word from our sponsors. And while you're listening to that, please go ahead and share this episode. This is some valuable information that could help any wrap shop owner or any other industry owner, as a matter of fact. So we'll be right back with you after this quick break.
After years of running a wrap shop, I've learned this. Your supplier should be a partner, not a question mark. That's why we trust Grimco. For over 5 years now, they have delivered on time and backed us when it mattered most. There's enough to manage in this business. Your supplier should not be one of them. Set up your new account today. Use code RAPOPS5 for 5% off your first order with Grimco.
All right, welcome back to the Wrap Ops podcast, and we're just going to dive right back in. So I have some more follow-up questions for you.
Absolutely.
So you mentioned earlier about you have some employees that maybe they have that potential to improve, and maybe you see it, but they don't see it. How do you approach that? Is that you encourage them, you open their eyes to it? Do you need to wait for them to come to you? How do you progress employees?
So I think part of that is really trying to mentor them to get them to actually see that potential themselves.
Okay.
Because a lot of people are, at least what I've experienced, they're not going to want to just come out and take on this new responsibility. Sometimes you really have to foster that or get them into it and show them that you can support them in that. You know, so that's something, as simple as, okay, this person's in charge of this project,
Just give them one project.
If there's an issue, that's your point of contact, that's your go-to, and see how it is that they can handle that with you as I'll be the backbone.
They can still come to you. But now, do you tell this employee, hey, beforehand, I'm going to make you in charge of this project. Let's see how you do. Or is it just kind of on the spot? Hey, you know what? I'm going to put you in charge of this project. I think you're capable of it.
So some of what it is that we've done, and I believe the most of what we've done over at when we were, at Metro was, feet to the fire. Yeah. And I mean, I find that it's best if you put somebody in a position that you feel that they're capable of doing. Yeah. If you can kind of beta test it a little bit and see how they handle it. Yeah. In worst case, if they don't do well, and okay. Right. If you're overseeing it, I mean, you're kind of helping them. You're kind of doing a co-chair with them, but you want to see what it is that they can do. Because sometimes employees don't see it themselves, and sometimes they do, and they say, "Hey, listen, you know what? I can be really good at this." And even that's not a guarantee.
Yeah.
You know, they may think that they're going to be really good at this, and they may not be, or they may be phenomenal at it. You know, but we were always open to giving people the opportunity that if they wanted to explore, you know, a different position, that they could, you know, and if they wanted to add value in some way, bring it.
Sure.
You know?
And how do you handle kind of that communication between team members and checking in with them on, you know, are we still doing what you want to do career-wise? Do you have like a weekly meeting with them, or is it just they came up to you whenever they wanted to have a conversation, or you went up to them? What did that communication look like?
So some of that, and I'll, you know, I can admit some fault in, you know, not having the meetings on the like on
like a regular
schedule,
basis. Yeah, it's hard
when it is that we want, because we get so busy.
Sure.
With it, you know, so a lot of the meetings start with, hey, and I apologize this didn't happen earlier. But, you know, for the most part, when we do have meetings with people, we ask them, you know, kind of where they see themselves, you know, and, you know, I want to see where it is that you see yourself in a few years from now. And, you know, gauge that against where I see them, and, you know, in a few years with what it is that I think they can do. But a lot of it is what it is that they're showcasing day in and day out.
So you're looking at what they're doing, not progressing them based off potential. Would that sound accurate?
So yeah, based on what they're bringing now.
Sure.
Right? Because I can't for sure say that you're going to be great in the future if what you're showcasing now is the minimal.
Right.
You know? And, you know, I try to give everybody the most positive feedback that I possibly can, and be really understanding with, you know, everything that's happening and going on, you know. But, you know, I have realistic expectations too, you know, because there is still a company to run. And, you know, as much as I would feel for somebody who says that they're having, you know, they're having a tough time, okay, cool, I can sympathize with that. That's, you know, I'm good with that, and I'll be, you know, we'll have your back for everything that it is that you've got going on right now. But when it's time to step up and step into work, I tell people that, which a lot of people don't understand. I say there's a time to clock in, and then there's a time to clock in. Right? So there's a time to clock in and go to work and do the things that you need to do, and then there's a time to actually really buckle down, you know, really zero in and focus. And get some work done. You know, and, you know, I try to get people to really understand that it's not about the hours that you put in. It's about how efficient you're doing your work. And, you know, you're not doing this for the sake of the company. You're doing this to make sure that our customers are happy. Yeah. Because so long as we have customers, you have a job. If we don't have customers, the shop closes and everybody's out of work and they're going somewhere else.
Sure.
You know? So you have to put your all into that. You have to try to leave the personal stuff at home. You know, bring the stuff that's business and keep business. You know, every disagreement, you know, that I've ever had, professional wise, has always been about the company. It's never been personal. And I tell people, don't take it personal.
Sure.
Don't take it personal. If I'm hard on you, don't take it personal. You know, I walked into a very positive atmosphere that was, you know, lighthearted and fun. Yeah. You know, Bruno's philosophy was to have people, he wanted people to be happy, but he wanted them to, you know, like, so long as the work's done, he's good. Yeah. You know, if the work's done, everybody can have fun afterwards, no problem. Yeah. You know, and we've always tried to keep that there, in that we don't want to hammer home things. We want people who need to carry that in with, you know, amongst themselves. Yeah. Bring it in amongst yourself and actually have, you know, a really good attitude about it to get work done. Sure. And then you can have all the fun you want.
So that comes with back to that kind of topic of efficiency. How do you, you know, say you have a team of installers and they're excellent installers, but slow. Right. How do you increase that speed without, you know, oftentimes we will have conversations with our team and they're like, okay, well, do you want my quality to drop? And that's the initial comeback. Yeah. You know, how did you handle it? I assume maybe you had conversations like that.
So I had one of our customer service reps years ago ask me, she came up to me and she said, can you make our installers faster? And this was before I was a trainer. This was like, I wasn't general manager. I wasn't in a position, you know, to lead anybody there. And I explained to her, I said, no, I can't teach them to be faster. I can help them be more efficient. And that's it. I said, you can't teach somebody to be fast. Yeah. So I would rather have someone be a little bit slower and have their quality be really high,
Right.
than have somebody be really fast and have their quality
redo
be,
jobs all the
right.
time. Mm-hmm.
So I had brought up to a buddy of mine, I said, hey, listen, there's talk about how, like, who's faster and raps and this and that.
Yeah.
I said, and there's one person who's really slow, but the raps they're good. They don't come back, and then there's one person's really fast, but you come back for repairs.
Yeah.
And it's okay. Well, the slow person is the fastest rapper.
Yeah.
And it
Because of the
made
amount of
sense to
time
me.
to
I didn't
have to
think about
redo
it,
it.
but it made sense to me, that, yeah, they don't have to redo their they've done it once. The minute you do it twice, you've lost, as a business owner, you've lost money, and as an employee, you've lost money for the business.
Yeah.
So we try, I try to get people to not emulate what it is that I do. And I say this in my classes too. What it is that I show you, take what works for you.
Mm-hmm.
Not
we all have
everything's going
different
to work
business
for you.
models, clients, team
Correct.
members,
I don't rap like anybody else. Nobody else raps like me.
Yeah.
I don't install like anybody else. Nobody else installs me. Everybody has their different techniques of what makes it work for them.
Mm-hmm.
So take whatever it is that I'm giving you, take what works for you and apply it to how it is that you install.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's going to help you more so than trying to do exactly what it is that I do and mimic what it is that I do.
Yeah.
I found that doesn't work. It doesn't help you.
And then on the, the management side of it, maybe the mistake being made here is expecting all of your employees to work exactly the same,
Correct.
to have that same quality, speed level. Oh, he does it, so she should do it type thing. Would you say
correct?
A piece of advice would be to get rid of that mindset?
So the mindset that people have, that a lot of employees have, that I see as a little bit of a troubling portion, is that you want employees to treat the business as if it's their own, right?
Right.
And look out for it if it's their own.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is it's not their business.
It's not their business.
So they're not going to.
Right.
So if you can honestly take that expectation out to say, okay, they're not going to treat this as if it's their own. But I still want them to have pride in what it is that they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And that the only way you can do that is by holding them accountable for their work and what they do,
Yeah.
And not have them worry about what the next person's doing, because you'll get that. And the influx of newer employees, I've seen a lot of that, where you get people who come in and go, well, this person's doing this. And it's like, well, this person's been here 5 years. You've been here 5 minutes. It's not the same.
Yes.
You've got to earn stripes a little bit in tenure here to understand how it is that it's working, and you'll fit in there, but you have to give it time. Everything's not,
it doesn't happen
instant.
overnight.
I know Amazon has made everybody instant, but this isn't.
Yeah, that instant gratification. So do you feel, you mentioned earlier, you said you came from the generation of work hard and get rewarded for your hard work. What do you feel about the current upcoming kind of group of installers, the younger ones that are coming into the industry? What do you, have you noticed a difference in that?
I've noticed an expectation level that I didn't have coming into the industry, where, and I know it's an overused term, but entitlement.
Yeah.
Of, I've come in, I've been here for a few months, so I think I'm ready to advance to this level. And it just doesn't work that way, especially in our, in our industry.
Yeah.
Our industry was, back when I started, you weren't looking it up on the internet. You were finding it in a phone book,
Yeah.
And that's how, and people were looking at ads in the yellow pages and going, okay, I think I could work here. And it was temporary.
Yeah. And now they're scrolling Indeed,
right,
like it's social media, if you think about it.
There was a stigma on the signage industry that was, the same way they have that stigma with McDonald's. You go flip burgers or fries at McDonald's, right?
Yeah, they're making $18 an hour right now, at least in Ohio. But
but if you start at McDonald's, right, at $18 an hour, doing the burgers and the fries, what happens 5-10 years from now?
Right.
You're in management.
Yeah.
And you're making six figures and eventually franchise owner. I mean, there's opportunities there, and that's what people don't really see.
Yeah.
When they look at this industry, they don't see it the same way.
Yeah.
It's
why
not,
that is. Why that disconnect is there.
I think, there's something got lost along the lines with, with trades.
Yeah.
And, this one, I mean, there's a lot of people who've made, a career in this. Justin Pates made a career out of this. This has been my career.
Yeah.
This is, I was 24 years at Metro, but this is my 36th year in graphics.
Sure.
So I took something that was, started off as $5 an hour summer work, for my brother, and turned it into, he showed me something that was able to turn into, a career that's, that's lasted.
And the knowledge can't be taken from you.
No. And it's definitely, there's a lot more to it than, the most plain way that we can explain it to people, which is I put up stickers for a living.
Yeah.
But it's way, way, way more involved than that. More so than what people, would generally understand.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, it's an industry that I've grown to love, from ways back.
Yeah.
And, I look at it and say, this is what I want to do. If my son wants to do this, then great. I'll take him under my wing. And if he doesn't want to do it,
great.
Also great.
Yeah.
I'm going to support him in whatever it is that, that he does. But it's something that, I would tell people, it's not a dead end. Like, this isn't dead end work.
Yeah. There's different progressions. Sometimes I feel the thought process is, I wrap cars, I'm an installer, and that's it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there are so many, I have my own mic, so many things you can go into.
Yes.
And even all the people we're sitting down for these interviews, I'm like, there's marketing, there's the training, there's all these different avenues in the industry that isn't just install.
Right.
So,
I mean, everybody's always going to need advertisement.
Yes.
And until the day shows where everything's going to be digitized, we still have a place in this world.
Yeah, like those digital box trucks.
Yeah.
You see those, your heart skip a beat the first time you saw it.
Everything. If the vehicles, if the paint starts changing on its own, then we got a little bit to worry about.
Then we get nervous.
But advertising and all that stuff, it's still, I mean, there's signs
have been around for
they've been around forever.
Yeah.
They've been around forever.
I think
Everyone
like Hershey was like one of the first ones or whatever, if you go into the history of it. Yeah.
They still everybody still needs advertisement somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
And unfortunately, everything's not going to be digital. You are still going to have visuals that when you're walking along the street to be able to see it. Now, they made billboards turn digital, but, what's been replaced, and we've had this happen at Metro, what's been replaced by digital, somehow the work gets replaced with something else. Like something else always slides into place where you go, yeah, I'm okay. I lost this business of these gigantic banners that we used to use as advertisement to a digital board, but now I'm doing this. Yeah. So now this helps, and it's happened.
Yeah. Like one door closes, the next one opens.
As it progresses, you think you're going to lose out. And then in turn, you're busier than you've ever been.
Right. Sure. So walk me through the transition. So you're working at Metro Wraps, you have a great career there, and then now you decide to do your own thing. Tell me about that.
So, I'm not getting younger. I'm not getting any younger. And, I started thinking about this, talking, with my wife about it, and saying, what do I want the last, I would say, third of my, of my career. I don't have 24 more working years.
Sure.
So, what is the last third of my career gonna look like? And I just started really contemplating and, saying, I think I can, I can do this and kind of slow things down, have more time at home with, with my family. I think Metro's in a good spot. Where if I left, I mean, they're not going to shut down.
Yeah.
They'll be, they'll be fine.
Volumes to you and Bruno as well to what was built.
They'll be able to, they'll be able to get past, I've seen people who I thought at the time, when they left, I was like, oh, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
And there were 4 people in the history of me being there. There were 4 people when that happened that I thought something was like, this is going to be bad.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. And, I would like to think that it's, been the same way with me, with me leaving, but it's something that I wanted to do and, kind of move in this direction. And I felt it was time for me to, to be able to make this move, for myself, for my family. And, I explained to Bruno, I said, I never wanted to leave a job in any animosity or anything. Like, I never wanted to get to a point anywhere where you don't like being there. I said, like, I'm good. I can do the job. I still love this place. I still, I have a lot of love for Bruno. I did a lot of my growing up, there, Metro. Yeah. I've gotten a lot of opportunity and, I've put in a lot of hard work, but he was real supportive. the decision I wanted to make. And, he's like, he goes, I thought we were going to retire together. I'm like, yeah, that would have been, would have been great, but I don't know when, I don't know what the future has, in store, but, I wanted to do something, where it was, mine from here on out to be able to slow the process down for me and generate more time for myself, because Metro is, they're involved in a lot.
Yeah.
It is project after project after project after project.
And crazy high level, like those overnight turns for those huge events, like type projects as well, if I understand correctly.
It's not a bad thing at all to have that.
Yeah.
But I'm approaching 50. I wanted to slow things down for myself, and I wanted to, have flexibility to be at home, a little bit more. My wife and my son.
Yep. You can't buy more time.
Right. And be able to do, those things while still being able to be a part. I'm still doing work for Metro, so I'm still involved.
You're still involved
with, with what it is that they're doing. And, I never wanted to burn a bridge on the way out. I never understood why anyone does that.
Yeah, I don't know. I agree.
If they're being treated, poorly or horribly, and they're really dissatisfied with their job, and they're removing themselves from the industry and getting it sometimes. Okay, I get it.
Sure.
But for people to leave and start their own businesses, why would you not want to try to make the place that you just left? Why would you not try to incorporate work from them as well? Why would you not?
Yeah, such a smart concept. I agree with that.
Everything else there made no sense to me for people to do. I never understood that. It's why would people do that? Why would they want to leave, burn a bridge, and not have, Metro as a stream of income that, we bring you on? That we bring on other people.
Yeah. When
there's big projects, why not be one of those people?
Yeah.
Why would you not make yourselves available to that? That's a smart, business decision for somebody.
I agree.
And, if you're not taking things personally, you should be solid.
Yeah.
I just can't take it personal. Realize that business is business and personal is personal, and know how to separate the two. And if you have that, you've got no worries on anything. So I don't have any worries.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I don't have any worries. Me and Bruno have a really solid relationship.
Sure.
So, he's good. I support everything that they're doing, and, I'm good, and he's supporting everything that I'm doing. So if he, any way that I can, help them, I have, and any way he can help me, he has.
Yeah, that's awesome. So other than, of course, the main goal of creating more time for you and your family, what is the big goals of JW Graphic Installation? What do you have a big plan in mind?
So I think right now, the one thing I've been asked is like, are you going to have a brick and mortar shop? Or are you going to have printers? You're going to have plotters? And, I'm not sure. I know there's plenty of companies that do just installs. Right now, that's my focus.
Yeah.
Is to,
then you're not tied down to something.
Right.
And that kind of goes with your goal.
Right.
Yeah.
If I can incorporate into, producing or something, that may be down the road for it. But right now it's not my focus. My focus is to see where it is that this leads.
Yeah.
And kind of evaluate it after a year and see where I'm at, because I do this. I also am trainer for 3M. I'm an authorized trainer for 3M. So, between this and classes, I think it'll fill my year up pretty good. But, that's kind of what I'm happy with right now, is just to see, that kind of lower the stress level and get these things going. Because when you work with events, it's high stress.
Oh yeah, because you can't miss the deadline.
And everybody wants everything yesterday.
Yep.
No matter how much time you've given them to do it, and from the beginning, and it still has to get done, because the event's going to happen whether you come through or not.
Yeah. And I don't think people realize when you go to an event, like in our industry we do, but just normal kind of people, how much signage is up at events. Even at this event, I'm like, man, that must have taken forever. That's a lot of prep work and whatnot.
You look at everything that's happening here, and like, if you use ISA for an example, the setup that they have for this is, it doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah, it's a lot. And you think about the hours put into it.
It's a lot to put in, and you have a deadline for opening. Like,
Isn't Metro Reps doing like Super Bowl and stuff like that? Or did I make that up?
No, well, the Super Bowl's been done, it was Blue Media for a long time, but I believe they sold their company.
Oh, okay.
They had the Super Bowl for that. But no, they do F1 and
F1.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah.
So Miami Open, Air and Sea Show, South Beach Wine and Food.
Yeah, these massive.
and
So if you
then-
aren't familiar with Metro Wraps, that's the caliber of,
And all the professional
events you're working with.
Every professional sports team in South Florida.
Yeah, that's
Male
right.
and
That
female
too. And then you
soccer,
have these
all of them.
celebrities too, which I'm sure present their own special problems,
Yes.
challenges, plus
So-
benefits. But, you know,
I mean, we get cars that we have to ship. you
Yeah.
know, that we have to ship out to, to celebrities in
Mhm.
Ohio or whatever. They, a lot of times what they'll do is they'll have somebody who buys the cars in Florida, gets them outfitted in Florida, gets them wrapped in Florida, and then put them in
Really?
a trailer and
Okay.
ship them out.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Is there something specific about Florida as to why they do? Is it
No,
because
it's I just know that like there's a guy there who has a location in Florida that's what he does.
that's his niche is these celebrities and
He-
they outfit
he-
the cars and
He
send
gets
them
the
out?
cars, he outfits them, and then
Okay.
and then he shoots them over.
And Metro's probably the wrap shop he uses.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So
and that speaks a lot to
I
those
would
vendor
think
relations and
that
importance
there's
of
other
that.
people that do that throughout the country. I only know.
I don't know.
I only
Yeah.
know Florida.
Yeah.
So
I can
I
tell you
only
what,
know that
Dayton,
there's a guy
Ohio,
Yeah.
we don't have that there.
Yeah.
Do you think you'll miss that component of the job, or are you like, I've been there, done that, it was fun, I'm moving on, of the celebrity and, you know, those big events?
I think for that, it's really strange. I think I've only been really like starstruck once,
Oh, okay.
and that was
So
meeting,
you're just like,
that
"Ah,
was
it's a job."
meeting Pat Riley.
Okay.
Even though I'm not a Heat fan,
Yeah.
but just everything he's done for basketball was
Sure.
was kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
And everybody else that we've had, I've always kept it, professional.
Yeah. You're just like,
Which
that's
is
another
weird,
client.
because I thought I would be a little more
Like, whoa.
starstruck, like, oh,
Yeah.
can I get a picture? And I'm not. And I try to make sure that everybody stays the same way, because the athletes and the celebrities, they get that already in public.
Sure. So when
It's behind closed doors, like we've gone to, some of these basketball players, we've gone to their houses.
really,
I'm not
I
going
didn't know
to
that.
ask them for their autograph
picture
or
in
their
their own
picture in their own house. Like they
Yeah.
get that everywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
So what does it look like if I'm taking advantage of that opportunity to do that to them
Yeah.
in their house when I'm there to do work for them?
Mhm.
So I've always kept that separate.
Yeah.
And we've met some pretty cool people, but I've been able to keep a level head, which I didn't think I would be. I
Yeah.
didn't think I would. And for the vast majority of it, the only one that I was really, really starstruck by was Pat Riley, and that's.
Do you remember your first, like, did you go home to your wife, like, oh, we're doing a rap job for this person? Do you remember your first one that you were just like, oh, wow?
Ooh, the first one,
Or maybe not.
I don't know. I don't remember the first one. So through Metro, there's been a lot.
Right. And since you're keeping a level head and you're never really starstruck, that
There's
makes
been a
sense if you
lot.
didn't.
I did go home and tell her that, I was walking the halls with Shaq and Dwayne Wade.
Oh, that's cool.
Um,
So casual, you just
and-
dropped that?
that was, for me, it was like, this is really cool. But again, they're at work. They just finished practice. They just finished, and I'm in their hallways.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not a time to ask for anything. It's not
Right.
it's a time to just walk, be, another voice. If they talk to you, you're talking to them. And if not, you're doing your job.
Right.
A little tough for some of the people who I, really, enjoyed, like seeing
Mm-hmm.
and getting the opportunity to meet. But, I still know I have to keep it. I had to keep it business.
That's awesome. Yeah, that speaks a lot to you. I would be like, oh.
Trust
But
me,
you have to
any other
shove it
Chicago
down.
teams was,
Oh,
was a
yeah.
little like those are the ones where I think I'd get a little.
That makes sense. Your hometown.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. Well, cool. Well, that is all the time that we have today to do this interview. Do you have anything that you would like to shout out or promote to close us out here, or anywhere we can follow
I really
you?
appreciate, you guys taking the time and actually wanting to, sit down with me and find out a
thank
little
you.
bit more about, what my journey has been like.
Mhm.
This is an industry that has given back to me for the last, 36 years now.
Mhm.
When I train, all I want to do is get back to, an industry that I've been fortunate enough to make a, living off of, and being able to have something that I've, invested into as much as it's invested into me, that I've had, a career it's really strange to look at it and saying, then it's closing in on 40 years. It's a long time,
Goes by quick.
Yes.
Doesn't it? Yeah.
Goes by very, very quick.
Yeah, we
I've been
just
very
hit year
fortunate.
10, and I'm like,
Yeah.
man, that feels like
Congratulations.
yesterday.
Yeah, it's great. Every milestone that I've been able to hit has been, I look back on it with perspective. and say this, I've been able to do this for this long, and I'm able to earn a living. I'm able to support my family. I'm able to, do everything that I want to do in life. And this is providing me the platform to do it. You know? And I'm really grateful to have the opportunities that it's provided. So, I appreciate being here and you guys, interviewing me and, taking the time out, for that. So for that, I'm grateful.
Well, thank you. Thank you for being on the podcast. That was Carlos,
Appreciate
everybody. And we will catch you in the next episode.
The Wrap Institute, the largest online wrap training platform, now with a special offer. Use our code WRAPOPS15 for 15% off your order.